Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Ian Saturday Night. Um, I had a, I had a, just a spontaneous thought right now. Is I remind myself of different people throughout the day. So right now, with my eyes half closed, I kind of remind myself of Gilbert Gottfried because Gilbert Gottfried has his eyes closed just like I do. And I don't quite know why. But I'm different things at different times. Sometimes I think my body changes with my mood. Now I'm calmer. My body changes with my mood. And I'm different things at different time zones. I had an interesting experience today. I was watching a movie and the popcorn got stuck in my throat. So maybe I'm dealing with those after effects. Plus, there's a bright light shining in my face. So things are just kind of unusual, spontaneously. I never know how it's going to be when I turn my camera on. But I know my face is like I swallowed a lemon, but I didn't swallow a lemon. It's just the reading of the moment. Now I'm calmer. As you can see, I'm relaxing. It takes me a second to relax my body. So now I can just ease into things. It takes me a second to relax my body. I want to mention a couple things. I watched the series The Girlfriend with Robert Wright Penn and Robert Wright Penn and I forget the girl in it, but she was on Bates Motel, and she's great. She was great in it, and it was a Patricia Highsmith kind of story. I loved it. I can't say enough about it, and it'll bring up a lot of questions. It carries the subject of a man, an able-bodied man, being a mama's boy, because the mother lost a son, and she has the mother lost a son before before the second son was born, and it caused a bunch of drama. So when the second son was born, the mother got a unnatural attachment to the son. So that made for some interesting drama, and it brings up the question of sociopathology and the idea of being a sociopath. And you're not sure if the girlfriend is a sociopath or if the mother is a sociopath. So it was very interesting, very interesting. So that was good. I know that my eyes are a little bloodshot, maybe because, I've had a lot of eye strain lately. So maybe that has something to do with it. I noticed it a little bit. I always like to study my body, rather like Lucian Freud. I don't know if some of you know the painter Lucian Freud, but actually I'm not sure if I think he just died, or maybe he's still alive. But anyway, Lucian Freud is probably the foremost portrait painter around in current times. So Lucian Freud, he does wonderful, wonderful work. And I don't mean to spread any false information about his bodily whereabouts, but he's made an impact on my life. Whenever you see his work, I mean, he hits you right to the core. Nobody does a portrait like he does, Lucian Freud. He's one of the greats. And I seem to recall reading his obituary but I'm not quite sure. And I'm embarrassed to say that I don't know, but I have pandemic brain sometimes, so things are always a little mixed around in my head sometimes. But I don't think it's a problem. I've noticed it. I've noticed it now and then. I don't really know why or how, but I hear people talk about it a lot ever since the pandemic happened. Yet you have slips of memory or slips of time. One thing that's really in my brain that I went through is of course, my split from my fiance. I tried my hardest to stay together, but she doesn't want that. Um, there are many reasons, which I won't go into right now, but the main reason was um, I feel from her she wants to go forward with her education in St. Augustine, and settling down with me would probably stop her from that. I don't know if it would stop her, but she definitely gave me that clue that it would stop her from fulfilling her dreams. So in that level, that's something that I love her, and I would never do that. I would never do that to someone, let alone a friend, a lover, or anything. If nobody wants to live with me, and they feel like I would be an obstacle to their dreams, that's a deal breaker. So I took that message to heart. I took that message to heart, and that's definitely the message that she gave to me, or one of the main ones. There were other factors involved, but basically, I feel like my love wasn't strong enough to carry her over into a new dimension with us. So that's something that I wrestle with, as I've told many of you at length. So many of you know the story, and maybe she knows the story from my position. I wrote her a 15-page letter, and she said she never got it. So that's a mystery that's a divine mystery. That's a divine mystery, or a mystery of life, that I don't know how that happened, but she said she never got it, and I have to trust that that's the case. It mystifies me, because it had an address on it, and I sent it out, but she never got it. So maybe it was divine intervention. Maybe that she wasn't meant to receive the letter, but there you have it. So romance is one of the foremost impacts on my life. I see many romantic experiences that I've had, relationships. I see each one as a work of as a creative thing, an artwork of sorts, that I involve my heart with, and I try my best with to build something, but it hasn't worked out, and I'm 59 years old, and I doubt any. I don't mean to sound negative to you guys and ladies, but I'm 59 years old, and I tend to think if it's not going to happen now, it's probably not going to happen. So I have to accept that fact, and to know that romantic longevity, is not in my cards. So it might be depressing for you, for my listeners, to hear me coming to grips with that, but that is a reality that's making itself felt by me. it doesn't mean I don't mean to say that I know it's not never going to happen with me, but my window is closing in terms of joie de vivre as it is, and youthfulness. So I know that if it hasn't happened by now, given my physical parameters that I have, it probably won't happen. So long term, a long term relationship I'm speaking of. It's possible that I might very well have a short term interlude, a romantic interlude of sorts, but I have no idea if and when or in any stretch of the imagination if that'll ever happen again. It doesn't look like it will, but hope springs eternal. I never mentioned this, but someone in my position, we don't have a large dating pool that we're dealing with anyway, so options are limited. So and that's just the reality of this the reality of the situation. I see it. I have my own physical parameters, and people do judge by appearances. I have a madcap, zany way about me, and when I'm in my chair, like a human pretzel, that doesn't necessarily, that's not really conducive to a date, to be a human pretzel. But such as it is, I think of people see me as, I know people see me as kind of a jigsaw puzzle, perhaps. It doesn't upset me. The only thing that upsets me is if people would call me a cartoon character. Some people have said that I'm like Timmy in South Park, and I find that very hurtful in a sense when they call me Timmy from South Park. But on the other hand, they might look at it sort of as a kind of an interesting thing, something of fame, putting something iconic, putting it on me. I don't know, but it always depressed me. But rather than being depressed about it, it says more about them than it does about me. I often think that I go through life kind of like an air plant, as if I was an air plant or an alien from outer space, but that also puts me in a box. So I know that I'm very human. I'm very, very human. And I like to think that my ego is tough. But, I'm as thin-skinned as probably anyone else. So I don't, sometimes words can really hurt me. Once, my fiance used the L word when she said that I don't tell the truth, and that was very hurtful. Just because I didn't tell her something, I was truthful of the moment, but I didn't tell her the history of the subject, regarding my lack of respect for numbers, and that was very hurtful when she said I wasn't truthful, and she used that word, that four-letter word that stands for not being truthful. So that was very hurtful for me to hear, because I don't think I deserved it. I don't remember lying to anyone per se, but I know that it's happened maybe a couple times when I was a kid, but I don't lie as a general rule. So that was very hurtful to hear. But people in relationships, and maybe she wanted to get out of the relationship. Subconsciously, maybe she wanted to get out, and she called me that word for not being truthful. That hurts very much. So I still think about it. I still think about it, and it's kind of strange, you know. It has the level of a certain thing in my dreams or something, because people usually say I'm very honest. The thing is, I like to experiment, but I'm not a liar. Experimenting with yourself and being spontaneous is different from being a liar and trying to get away with something. But I'm also not a reckless person, but I do like to experiment with myself. I'm not sure what this conversation means right now, but I'm having fun revealing myself to you guys. Life is tough. The news is a mess. There's a lot going on. People are very, I think people are very, there's a lot of seriousness going on and a lot of high temperatures that I know. And that there's different levels to life. So that's all I'm going to say about it right now. A lot of you probably have many ideas on different things. So if you wanna write in and let me know how you're feeling, that's okay too. But it was a big day because I had fun with the movie, but I choked a little on my popcorn, and it was a long day in my chair with the sun beating down on my face. So in many ways I'm subject to my environment. In the conditions of my chair are like a spaceship. They're very much like a spaceship. So that's how I feel, like a space traveler in many ways. So I'm trying to deal each day as I can, even though I'm alone each day, for large part by myself, especially with romantic concerns. I'm very much a bachelor, and I'm probably going to stay that way for quite some time, and I just have to accept that and get along each day, because time moves very fast. I'd like to think that when I was with my fiance, or any relationship that I've had, that I appreciated her, and any relationship that I've been in, that I appreciated them. But I don't know if that's the case. But I feel very deeply about each time when I'm in love. So I like to think that I savor every moment, and that I'm appreciative of every moment. Incidentally, I watched some films of Christy Brown, who had cerebral palsy. He was a poet and a painter that had cerebral palsy, and I know my head moves around a lot, but watching him, it's like watching a jitterbug. So his head is electric and moves around quite a bit. So I know I know my head moves around and my face squinches up, but Chrissy Brown is like me with 20 cups of coffee. Chrissy Brown even had a lot of energy in his body, and a lot of spasticity. I think I'm at a 5 or a 6 on the electric head level, but Chrissy Brown is probably at a 9 because his head was moving all over the place. And there's something about cerebral palsy that makes your head move around. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but it's a kind of dance. And I've read articles where people say cerebral palsy has a kind of poetry about it because it has its own rhythm and its own way of moving through space when you have cerebral palsy. So that in itself, that is poetic. Okay, everyone. This is a big session. We covered a lot of bases in a very stream of consciousness way, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.